Hello everyone, my name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks Explained video, and today we are going to talk about the new marathon for the CS52 list. The tank or the marathon we already talked about yesterday when we got the news that there will be a marathon, and Wargaming today decided to actually release it, and now we know what is going on. We're going to have a look at several different things. We're going to have a look at the missions, the feasibility of the grind in general or the marathon, the rewards and additional rewards, which are a little bit off or weird-ish and a new concept, as well as we're going to have a look at a conclusion of everything we are talking about and some comparisons to other tanks and other games actually. Now, the mission concept is something you already know. We had it in the Burrasque, we had it in the Prosciutto, in the EBR-75 FL10. It's basically the same thing as we already know it. There are two different mission types. The missions for commitment, which are usually base XP grind missions, which are there for tier 6 to tier 10 vehicles, where you have to be at minimum top 10 in your team. This is usually just done to prevent botting and stuff like that. Then there is mission for mastery, and this is more challenging. There are more challenging missions, which we are going to have a look at in just a second, and they are only for tier 10 vehicles. Yet again, Wargaming decided to remove the option for tier 9 vehicles, which as far as I know was there for the Renegade or even previous ones. I'm not entirely sure though. I don't think it was Renegade, probably has been the TS5, but again, I didn't look that up. Now, this is the first mission you're going to encounter, and for the commitment you have to do 2000 base XP, which shouldn't take too long, or B1s earn at minimum 650 base XP, which is also not that difficult when you are just winning. It's basically just win and perform decently. The next one is either do 5000 base XP or do 3500 damage, and you have to be in the top 3 players of your team to do that. That is fairly easy. Then the next up is do 9000 base XP or be twice top or player in your team by experience earned. Now this is not that easy, because obviously you're going to fight against other people which obviously want to be top XP, but the good thing is it doesn't indicate that you have to be winning. Obviously this will probably also be a lot easier to do than the base XP missions for decent players, so that is very, very Gucci. Next up, at stage 4 we have to do 17,000 base XP or do 4 times 4,200 damage in a battle. Now that is actually not that easy to do for a casual player. Even I, which I consider to be not that garbage at the game as in War Thunder, I've considered to do 4,200 damage not that easy. Mostly you will just be playing, or the good players will be playing tanks like Chieftain or the Super Conqueror or 279 or Object 268 version 4, and then it shouldn't be that hard. Hey, you can even do it in an Object 140, which I partially did during parts of my gunmark grind. You know, it works, but it is definitely not as easy as the previous one. On stage 5, it is a little bit different. You have to do either 28,000 base XP or cause at least 3,200 damage and be the top player in both teams by damage caused 8 times. So the fact that you have to be top in damage in both teams, that makes this mission quite a bit harder in my opinion. So it most likely will be actually still, maybe it will be easier to do the commitment mission, but it is hard to judge. 3,200 damage is not that much, but that you have to be top player in both teams, that makes it a lot more difficult and maybe even frustrating. The 6th mission is once again 28,000 base XP or do 13 times 850 base XP. So that is also something which isn't like 850 base XP is nothing to cough at. So you have to be it has to be a good game. It shouldn't be a garbage game. And if you are in a 3-5-7 matchmaking where you are fighting against tier 8s, this might actually be a hard mission to do, because doing damage on tier 8s usually nets very little experience. So yeah. Stage 7, 32,000 XP as commitment or top player in both teams by experience earned 9 times. Once again, you are We have to look after the enemy team, which is a little bit annoying, but I think XP, top XP is a little bit more forgiving than just doing damage, because in top XP everything counts, you know. So that is fairly okay-ish. On the 8th, that is a very hard-ish one, I would say. 35,000 base XP, which is alright, or get the high caliber 5 times. Point is, high caliber in normal games, in normal tier 10 only games, which will probably be a lot more often during this mission, they will be very hard to achieve, because usually you have roughly around 30,000 XP or 30,000 damage hit points in the game, or maybe not 30,000, maybe around 25 to 30,000. So you have a range of where you have to do around 5 to 6k damage with nobody getting close to you to get the high caliber award. Obviously it's something you can do, and it's just 5 times, but it's definitely not that easy to do a 5 to 6 or even more damage. And again, you have to hope that nobody else is doing that amount of damage, otherwise they will get the high caliber award. 9 will be 40,000 for commitment, or top player in your team by damage caused 25 times. So that's again a little bit more forgiving, but it's definitely not that easy. However, if we are calculating around that we are getting, let's say, I don't know, 500 base XP per game, obviously the 25 might be a little bit easier to get, but it depends really. It depends. I think that the base XP now starts to be a little bit more easy. Yeah, this one I'm on the fence. It's hard to judge which one is easier. And lastly, you have to do 50,000 XP or decide to be the top player in your team by experience earned 30 times. To be honest, 9 and 10 are fairly forgiving when you're playing tier 10. But obviously they are not easy. So actually this one right here may or may not be easier to just go for the commitment than for this one right here. Because of the fact that in the end, if you're the top one in your team by experience earned, you probably have around 1,000 XP. So the amount of times where you weren't top in your team by XP starts to add up. So in minimum, you have to have roughly around 30,000 XP, which is already more than half than what you need for the commitment. So it may or may not be easier to just do the commitment missions. However, again, this also counts in losses, which we will have a look at in just a second, you know. Now, calculating everything up, I'm not going to go over the skill missions because those are mainly the ones which most of you will probably not try. Maybe the earlier ones are much easier to do a skill until around 4 and 5. But yeah, in total, you need 246,000 base EXP in 10 days. That is quite a lot. But if we compare it to other tanks like the Prochetta, the Su, the Renegade and the Bourrasque, which were all base XP missions, you can see that it's only 6,000 more than what the Bourrasque has. So if you consider the Bourrasque missions to be doable, well, you have your answer. The CS52 list missions will be doable as well. But once again, we are going to have a feasibility test, or we do some little bit calculations. Now, let's take my last 20 games as a baseline. I do want to point out around 3/4 of the games, of around 75% of the games I've played in Platoon with Silence, which is also a German streamer, which is from the clan Skill, and he is also a very high skill player. So we had on average 738 base experience with an average tier of 8.35. You can see we have the A46 games in it, one T34 game I had today, and the rest was tier 9 where we were playing the CS59 and the Leopard PTA. And we had around 70% win rate. You can see this is everything we did in Platoon, or roughly everything we did in Platoon. And those games up here, well, they weren't that impactful. You can see we had 60% win rate if I am now not that retarded, you know. Now, this is my calculation. 246,000 base XP divided by 738 average per game means that I personally, if I would continue to play at this level, probably in Platoon, because in Platoon you get more base XP, I would, because you're winning more, I needed more, around 333 games to get the tank. This means on average 33 games per day for me, And if we take the 7 minutes average game time, which is something I heard like several years ago, maybe it's a little bit less now, but this means we would need around 2,333 minutes, which comes down to 38.8 or roughly 39 hours of play time in 10 days. And this means that roughly per day I would need to play 4 hours. And again, this means I would need to keep on keeping up the 70% win rate and probably still play tier 9s, not looking at any tier 10 games or the commitment missions. And again, this is actually very, very interesting. This is roughly how much I would be studying per week. My new semester, which is coming up in middle of September, I have 8 hours per day in classes, in maybe online classes, maybe not, we don't know yet. And yeah, this basically means that for me, if I was keep playing at this level, it would be a full-time job. Now, how is it looking for a more casual approach, like 500 base XP or 600 base XP? For the 500, we come all the way down to 5.7 hours per day and around a 57-hour play time with around almost 50 games per day. And with a 600 base XP line, well, it's around 41 games per day, which comes roughly down to 4.8 hours per day, or roughly 5 hours per day of play time. Obviously, in these calculations, I didn't really put in the additional games you would have to play for not getting top 10 in experience, because it's something I usually barely struggle with. I know for casual players, it's a little bit harder. So in theory, for both those calculations, you probably can add maybe 30 to an hour more per day to count in these losses from not being top 10 in XP. Then again, it is roughly the same as with the Burrasque. So if you were able to get the Burrasque through commitment, you will be very, very likely to also get the CS52 list. Now, the rewards for the list challenge are the same thing we had for the Burrasque. The only real difference is that instead of a rammer and the and the turbocharger, we got something like a stabilizer and optics, if I'm not mistaken. But everything else, as far as I know, after comparing it a little bit, is exactly the same. So that is okay, I would say. Still, I have to say that I'm not sure. Like, if it will cost again around $60 or 60 euros, it's still a lot, you know. But for that, the conclusion is there. There is also something new which Wargaming just did now, and it's an additional reward, the post-progression missions. In those, you can get up to in very heavy quotation marks, 14 days of premium, 42 boosters, 42 credit boosters, 70 universal blueprints, and 4 booklets at 250,000 crew XP. Now, why in heavy quotation marks? Those are daily missions which can be only done in the CS52 list, and they cannot be done retroactive. So the first day mission is only from the 28th of August until the 29th of August at 7 a.m. The second mission, or the second daily mission, is from the 29th of August until the 30th of August, 7 a.m. And again, you cannot retroactively do those. So if you want to get all of those missions, in theory, you would have to grind as much as possible on the first day, get probably around a 50% discount, buy it right there for around $30 if you say it's $60, and then do another few games in the CS52 list to get the first reward. So this, in theory, is nothing for most players. That's really nothing. And I have a little bit of a theory that why Wargaming introduced that, because previously a lot of CCs, me including, with the Burrasque, we said, hey, play as much as possible. If you want to, see where you come. If you get around a 60, 70, 80% discount, go for it. It's a good tank. It's a very good tank, actually, the Burrasque. I didn't play the CS52 yet, so I can't tell you if it's good or not. And yeah, now with the additional post-progression rewards, it looks like Wargaming wants you to get a little bit worried or a little bit stressed, you know? It kind of feels a little bit like addictive. That you're missing out. FOMO, fear of missing out. You're missing out on those cool additional post-progression rewards which you can get. So yeah, this basically kills the idea for us saying play till the end of the period, see how far you go, and then decide if it's actually worth it for you to spend 50, 30, 40, 20, 10 US dollars, 10 euros or 6 euros, I don't know. Again, it's up to you. Now, let's conclude everything. First things first, I think it is feasible to do. You have to invest some time, and obviously if you have a job, it's a no-brainer basically. I still suggest if you have a job, for example, just play as much as you want, see where you're getting, don't worry about it. If you get in the end a 30% discount, that's fine, you know, or a 50% discount or a 70% discount, that's fine. You have 2 weekends in the whole period, which is nice. And it's a marathon, it is supposed to be a challenge in the end. Then again, if you are having a job, you can just buy it straight up if you really want to. But then again, you have to ask yourself, do you want to spend 60 euros, $60 on a pixel tank and some additional stuff? Or do you just pay 20 or 30? Or do you even wait till the tank comes out normally? Because for me personally, if we are suggesting that this tank is like a 60 euro tank, 60 euro bundle base price, I think that Wargaming is very, 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 very upselling this tank. Because let's have a quick look at the Super Pershing. The Super Pershing costs 26 Swiss francs, which is around $26, which is around 25 euros. Its gold price is 7,200. And as you know, the CIS's price, or the list's price, is 6,700 gold. So the gold price is roughly correlating to the in-game premium tank price. So if it will get sold later down the road, it's actually going to be a lot cheaper, I'd suggest. Because the Borask is actually a little bit, is around 7,000 or 8,000, I'm not entirely sure, I actually forgot. But it's actually much more expensive than the Super Pershing. So yeah. If you probably wait, you will be able to get it probably cheaper. They did sell the Borask around $30 or 40 euros, I think. I can't remember. They just sold it recently. So yeah, it is up to you. I'd say if you are able to get around a 60 to 70% discount, it could be worth it if the tank is any good. And again, what I've heard so far, it is any good. And now I want to have a very, very little quick detour because some of you know that I am playing the Operation Suffer event for War Thunder. And it's very interesting because it's basically the same concept. Do missions, you have 2 days per mission tasks, and you have to do 10 missions in total to get those reward vehicles. Those are not premiums, they don't make more money, they actually lose your money, I guess. They're just purely reward vehicles, you know. And 1 star or 1 task costs roughly 6 euros, or 6.6 euros, 1,000 golden eagles, or 999. We're not going to kill about 1 golden eagle. So in total, if you want to buy the tank with just the 1,000 points per tank, you need 10,000 coins, you would pay 66 euros. Or, because they have a discounted bundle, 50 euros. Again, there is nothing in this tank. There's no bundle, no anything. You actually have to grind this tank out. So it's fully stock. It is like you would get the CS53 as a premium tank and you have to completely grind it. So it's kind of like, this is just a little bit of trivia because it's kind of funny that both tank-based games have more or less the same pricing scheme for their marathon tanks. Just something I found a little bit funny and just a little bit of trivia. And with that, you can scold me, tell me that was stupid to give us this trivia to pad the runtime, or I don't know. But I thought it was kind of interesting. So let me know in the comment section below if you have any feedback for me about the video. One thing I am right now kind of fighting against is that for some reason the slides, when they are going from one slide to the other, it looks like it is lagging. And I don't know why that is. It looks like OBS simply doesn't cut it. And if anybody knows what I could do against it or try to counter that, let me know in the comment section below. I know one thing which will probably help, but the problem is it's very, very pricey, and that is to have a capture card with an additional PC. And I don't think I have enough money right now, or I'm not willing to spend this amount of money to get an additional PC with additionally record. But again, let me know. And hello? I'm stupid. There you go. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I would really much appreciate it. We already broke 8,000 subs, which is insane in my opinion. It's actually insane. It's so many subs. As far as I know, that's now more than what the next biggest village has in inhabitants, which is amazing in my opinion. So yeah, let's still try to go for the 10,000. Share my channel if you really enjoyed, if you always want to be up to date with your latest World of Tanks infos. Maybe not during my semester, maybe I will be a little bit slower, but I try to do my best. Thank you so much for watching. My name is RagingRaptor. Cheers, good luck in this list challenge, and as always, thanks for watching.